Aloha mahalo as we look at OKO Wrist Lock number 11. Now, this is going to be a reintroduction to cross-hand wrist grabs. In other words, the opponent is crossing his own body to grab your hand and reaching across your own body. He's already compromising his height and his depth at the same time to reach across, grab your body, and we're going to use that to our advantage. This is going to be his left hand to our left hand grab. My left foot is going to be slightly forward. This is going to be 12 o'clock in our green zone. Once again, this is a when-then. When he grabs, then we respond. How I'm going to respond is initially by stepping out with my left foot and creating a new line, which is called nudging the line. We're going to see this when we dig into our concepts and principles, but I'm going to nudge the line, get off the line of attack, pull and push with the strike to the face. In this case, the eyes. I'm going to up clock to get on the outside of my opponent, bringing my arm up, allowing my right hand then to grab the back of his hand, much like the butterfly grip as we have before. I'm going to re-grab his thumb and meaty part of his hand with my left hand. I'm going to control release with my right and grab his elbow to control his height and his weight, and then punch. As GGM Groff says, punch his wrist through to put his elbow into my arm, giving me control. My right hand's going to release since I have control of his elbow underneath my armpit and grab the wrist. I can control and either continue to control him, slam him into a door frame or the wall, or if I want to, I can just step to reverse with my left foot and then as I rotate to continue to push his wrist down while pushing his arm towards his face to bring him down the ground, then follow up, cross, cover, and on guard. Once again, stay tuned as we look at the concepts and principles here in wrist lock number 11, especially the new concept of nudging the line. All right, as we are back, as we see here, my feet are on parallel railroad tracks. My left foot is slightly forward like we see in wrist lock number 11. What I'm going to do as my initial move with the pulling of my wrist down and the poke to the eyes is my left foot is now going to step towards my opponent, but on a new line, the third stick. So this is my pre-position number 2. I'm going to step, creating this new line. This is what we call nudging the line. I'm just scooting it over a little bit, and my right foot is going to step onto now the new set of railroad tracks. Once again, I start on a set of railroad tracks, imaginary obviously, and then I step towards my opponent, now creating this nudged line, and when I do the up clock in the technique, now my right foot is on the second pole of the previous track. Once again, as it looks in the technique, step, up clock. This is called nudging the line. You've seen it previously in almost all of the previous wrist locks. But now I wanted to define the term because we're going to see it not just applied here in the wrist locks, but in future punch, stick, and stick and knife counters coming up. As we take a dive into the OKO Wrist Lock number 11 and the concepts and principles that are within the technique. So first off, we have continuing this idea of a distraction strike, along with manipulating his height, width, and depth, giving us time. Once again, we have a push-pull. I'm pulling with my left hand to pull them into the strike. Once again, when you have two objects coming together, let's say two cars, 20 miles an hour each, we create a 40-mile-an-hour collision. We are borrowing force at the same time as manipulating our opponent with the first move of wrist lock number 11. We've got now the introduction of nudging the line. We start in the railroad tracks parallel, my left foot steps, and then right foot follows to create a new set of railroad tracks that are parallel but on a different line as the previous railroad tracks. We have the reintroduction of the butterfly hand position. As my hand comes up, my right hand is going to grab behind his wrist, thumb in the center between the two middle fingers, and then My right hand then can control release to reposition so that my hand is in a butterfly position behind his hand, at least temporarily. It's going to allow us then to control release with my right hand to control the elbow. Interesting thing too here in wrist lock number 11. A lot of the times when we're doing techniques circularly on a flat plane, for instance, a palm heel claw, we would often practice them coming in this way. Palm heel claw, palm heel claw. As though I'm palming the maxillary hinge and then grabbing the ear of my opponent. We have the same motion, but now used to control our opponent. What am I saying here? Once I have control in the butterfly position, my right hand is going to come up, palm heel claw to grab the elbow, and now I'm going to push and pull his elbow into my armpit and push that hand through. And then once again, re-grab. So we have this circular, almost gung fu motion going with the palm heel claws. Once again, we have a 6-point lock. When his hand comes up and out, I've now started to affect the 6-point lock. Fingers, wrist, elbow, shoulder. We're going to continue that and continue at 3 points of contact. What do I mean by that? If this is his arm, and as we start, we bring it up and out, I'm going to butterfly position, grab. Control release, I'm going to grab the elbow and to bring it up and into my armpit. Now I have 3 points of contact. One with my hand at his wrist, my elbow at his arm, and underneath my armpit, allowing me to control my opponent. And lastly, once again, as we like to do, is hit them with a planet. When I do the step through reverse while in control of my opponent, I can place him into the floor using pain compliance, continuing to put pressure on his wrist, as well as bringing his wrist up towards his head, forcing him to go to a double negative body posture. Once again, a lot of fun stuff, especially the new nudging the line here in OKO Wrist Lock number 11. Stay tuned for number 12. Aloha, mahalo, and live pono.